back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Martin Odegaard has had quite a season, a very bad season by his standards, and many Arsenal fans are very angry, and there is divided opinion about our captain. A few people saying we should sell him and sign a number 10 since we've got Declan Rice and Mikel Merino and the likes of Kai Havertz that can play in the little pockets of 8 in which Martin Odegaard is employed. But for me, I actually disagree. I really think that Martin Odegaard is such a very important part of our team, and he has had a bad season, and all players have a bad season. I mean, it's a bad run of form, and if he can work on it, he's gonna come back stronger and better. But in this video, I want us to dive into the discussion on Martin Odegaard. Is it really true that Arsenal have outgrown the captain and therefore we've got to drop him the way we've dropped Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus? Or is it just one bad season and everything is going to be forgotten and we are going to move on? Now, this campaign, Martin Odegaard has only scored 2 goals and assisted 4 times. That is 6 goal involvements in 21 games for Arsenal in the Premier League. That is so low by his standards. Last campaign, for example, he scored 8 goals and assisted 10 times. And the season before that, he scored 15 goals. Now, such a player is such a very interesting part of the team. You can't just wake up and say, he's bad, he's no longer good, throw him away. We all know that he's such a very good player and he can produce the numbers on his good day. There must be underlying reasons why Martin Odegaard has had such a bad season, and we know that these reasons must be there and they must be plausible. So let's dive into them. Number 1, I've gone with the injury that he suffered at the beginning of this campaign. Now, it's a little bit too late for me to drag on this, but I'm going to bring it in. When players suffer injuries, at times they come back stronger. The way you look at Julian Timber, he had that long-term ACL injury, but when he came back, it was worth it. He's been one of our best performers this campaign, and he's been one of the best Arsenal players for the season. If I was to pick the best 3 in the campaign, Gabriel would be definitely up there, but also Julian Timber, as a consistent performer, I'll definitely put him in the team, together with David Raya. So Martin Odegaard, we know that he has had such good seasons before, but this injury that he suffered at the beginning of the campaign could have affected him. Now, we know that he was out for quite some time, and maybe when he came back, it wasn't the same. He wasn't the same player. Maybe we rushed him to come back, and maybe he didn't hit the levels of fitness that he would have wanted. I mean, Arsenal rely on him entirely solely for chance creation, and we can't afford to have him out. So possibly Mikel Arteta and the team decided to rush him back, and from that injury, he's never been the same again. Now, when he came back from the injury, to give him some credit, he actually changed a few games. He actually had a few good games. I think around 2-3 good games. And we were like, this is why Odegaard is needed at Arsenal. But apart from that, the form quickly declined. And I don't remember him really having the confidence that he had last season. I mean, think about it. Ever since Odegaard came back from injury, we don't see him try to shoot as much as he did. We don't see him try to thread ball through as much as he did last season. And that could only be explained by a lack of confidence. A lack of confidence that was created and started with that injury. But the second reason that I think that Odegaard has not really performed well is the breaking of his partnership with Saka and Ben White due to injury. Now, Saka and Ben White have been really part of the sick bay this campaign, and there's no question about that. Last season and the season before that, while Arsenal were challenging for the Premier League against Manchester City, 2 of our most attacking and very important players in attack were Saka and Ben White. And those 2 complemented Martin Odegaard very, very well, and hence the results that we saw from him and the team in general. By this campaign, Saka's been injured for quite some time. He last played for Arsenal, I think around December. He has not played for Arsenal this year. And Ben White, almost the same. They've had long-term injuries, and that was always going to have an effect on Martin Odegaard. Now, to give credit to Julian Timber, he's had such a very good season, but that really doesn't mean that he can replace Ben White. These are 2 very different players, very talented, work ethic, great athletics, but their output and their input to the team is very different. Take Ben White, for example. He's a player that is happy to run a lot and go past Odegaard, go past Saka, and provide that trio with an option when it comes to crossing the ball. Julian Timber isn't that. He's a player that is very, very happy to be on the ball a lot of the time and tuck inside, and is a very good passer of the ball. Now, although Odegaard is also very good at that, it looks like the two of them are always going to collide. I think Ben White is a better right back than Julian Timber when it comes to partnering with Odegaard and Saka. He's a much better option in terms of bombing right from right back into the attack as compared to Julian Timber. So, and of course, without Saka, without Ben White, Martin Odegaard has had to adapt in a very difficult season. He's had to adapt to the new changes. That is Julian Timber, Raheem Sterling, and the others. So without Saka, it's very, very self-explanatory why Martin Odegaard has not been ticking the way he's been ticking in the past. And also, the changing partners on that right-hand side have not made it any easy for him to perform at the highest level. I mean, think about this. He played with Saka, and things were actually working out, and then Saka got injured. Ever since then, he's played with Raheem Sterling, he's played with Kai Havertz, he's played with Gabriel Martinelli, and then Ethan Henry as well. And I think Trossard has also played there before. And that tells you everything you need to know about Odegaard and why he's struggling to form partnerships. His partnership with Ben White and Saka was so solid that we got used to it. Arsenal are always going to produce something from the right-hand side. And that has changed. And it has really changed for the worse. With Martin Odegaard, we no longer see the creativity. We no longer see the player that actually plays with his instincts. He's choosing to make it safer. He's choosing to play it safer because he doesn't have those natural partnerships and those natural connections with players like Saka and players like White. He's missing that, and it's evident when the likes of Nwaneri and the likes of Martinelli and the likes of Raheem Sterling are on the pitch. Now, of course, if you ask me, if Arsenal sold Ben White and Saka, would we have to sell Odegaard? Definitely not, but I think he needs some time to adjust. And I think we have not given him that time, given the fact that this was a season where Arsenal were expected to win the league, and every Arsenal player was expected to step up and rise to the occasion. Martin Odegaard, sadly, has been one of those players that have not risen to the occasion, and we are very angry as Arsenal fans, and understandably so. But then I have a question. I mean, apart from him not having Saka and White, is he playing out of role? And are we asking from him something that he really doesn't do? And that is be our number 10 and be the creative spark. When I watch players like Bruno Fernandes, there is something that I really realize. Bruno is not forced to create. Although Manchester United really expect him to create chances, but his chance creation is very, very natural. I mean, he's one of the players that will frustrate you by hitting long balls over the top, but he's trying to create. Every single time Bruno Fernandes is on the ball, he's looking for a runner and he's looking for a player who's gone through or is looking to shoot on goal. And that is why he's also very good at free kicks. I think these are two very different players. Arsenal have the latter, not the former, and we want Bruno, right? I think if Arsenal had Bruno Fernandes and not Martin Odegaard, we would miss Martin Odegaard and we would miss the things he actually does on the ball. If we had Bruno Fernandes, I think we would create more. Obviously, we don't have a striker, so I don't know why we would create more, but we would create more chances, and that is what we are asking of Martin Odegaard. I think Odegaard, for me, is a deeper lying creative player. He's so talented, and therefore we always say, go on and create. We need more chances from you. I don't think he's that Mesut Ozil kind of player. I think he's more of a Toni Kroos. And they will create chances, and they will score goals in his good season. He'll score 10 and assist 10 as well. But that doesn't mean he's going to reach the creative levels of players like Iniesta or players like Xavi. they're different. I think Toni Kroos and Odegaard love to be on the ball and they love to dictate play and they will make it beautiful and they will make football look easy. But when it comes to creating a lot of the time, that's where we get it wrong. They're not that guy. In my opinion, I think Arsenal need to go out there in the market and find themselves a good number 10. It could be Florian Wirtz, it could be Famin, it could be anyone. Ryan Shaki at Lyon, it could be anyone. And if we get a number 10 and couple him with Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard, and it still doesn't change, then I can agree with a few people who say, let's sell Martin Odegaard. But at the moment, I think there are more problems for us to fix in order to fix Martin Odegaard. So do we over-rely on him too? I mean, you've got to ask that question as well. Apart from Bukayo Saka, who else is that creative spark in this team? For me, no one else. And because players like Odegaard are so much relied on, they end up playing a lot of football. And in the end, what happens is ultimately they're going to suffer from burnout. We've talked about that injury he has had before, but this is his third season playing straight. He is a natural human and he's going to get tired. And we brought in Fabio Vieira in the summer of 2022 to help out. Mikel Arteta maybe didn't believe in the player, or the player didn't impress Mikel. One of the two is true. And we can now say that Odegaard is the only player we can have in that midfield and say, go and create. The likes of Declan Rice have been employed in a similar situation, but I think Declan Rice is becoming more of a goal scorer than a goal creator. So Arsenal over-relying on him literally means that whenever he has a bad game, we are going to be underwhelming as a team. And that is true. And without Bukayo Saka, all eyes have turned to Martin Odegaard, and he has really, really disappointed. So for me, again, I think we ask a lot from him. I'm not saying he shouldn't perform. He gets a lot of money as a player. He's a captain. He's got to step up. And I also think that at times he's stepped up, but the rest of the team have not. And we'll talk about that because Arsenal really had a general bad season. Let's talk about it. I mean, yes, Martin Odegaard has had a very poor season. I mean, in a season where we thought we are going to be champions, we expected at least our captain to show up, to wake up and give us some good performances. It hasn't happened. But let's zoom out a little bit, right? Have Arsenal really had a good season? How many players at Arsenal can really say, we have had a good season and we are proud of it? Let's talk about Raya. Very good season. William Saliba, that is a massive decline of a season. Gabriel Magalhaes, very good season. Julian Timber, very good season. Lewis Kelly, very good season. And Ethan Nwaneri, very, very good seasons. But the rest of the Arsenal players, if they have not been average, they've actually been atrocious. William Saliba has got to pull up his socks because this has been one of the worst seasons he has had in an Arsenal shirt. The same with Ricardo Calafiori, although he has just come in, I don't think he's had a good season. And the same with players like Raheem Sterling, Mikel Merino, Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli. They've not really stepped up, plus Declan Rice. So as we talk about Martin Odegaard, he's had a bad season, he's not doing this and he's not doing that, let's remind ourselves that it's not the only Arsenal player or Arsenal official that has had an atrocious campaign. Mikel Arteta himself as a manager has got it wrong on a number of occasions. There's no question about that. And I think this season should be a collective whole to be blamed on people at Arsenal, not just on the shoulders of one player. He's the captain, yes, but I don't think that his bad season means Arsenal should fall apart the way you've done. Obviously, there are things like injuries that you can control, and that's why I'm saying Odegaard is not the only reason as to why Arsenal is struggling. We are struggling because it's been generally a bad season. So do I think that will come back next season? I do. And I might be deluded. I might be really, kind of very optimistic. But I think that Martin Odegaard next season will be cooking again. With Saka, maybe Nico Williams and Isak or Gyökeres, I think that Arsenal are going to have a solid front three that will unlock Martin Odegaard's creativity. And I think that Arsenal could get a number 10 if Andrea Bata and Mikel Arteta work well together. I think we might have a very different campaign from what we have just seen this season. That is, if injuries stay away from our club. And lastly, I want to answer the question, does Martin Odegaard slow Arsenal down, especially in transitions? Now, for me, the answer is a yes and a no. It's a yes because when I look at Arsenal, during counterattacks or, on the break, and Martin Odegaard is on the ball, it usually ends up slowing down and moving back. That is bad. I mean, we must be able to play on the transition, and we must be able to play while dominating play. I mean, we do that very well, but I think on transitions, it is true that Martin Odegaard really slows us down. But there is a reason for that, and that's why I'm saying, no, he really doesn't slow us down. Think about this. If Martin Odegaard was on the transition, and he has the ball and Arsenal breaking, and he has two runners, Saka on one hand and Nico Williams is on the other, does Martin Odegaard have the quality to pick either role or just play the ball into their paths? Yes, he does. And one of the reasons as why Martin Odegaard is really slowing Arsenal down in transitions is because we have runners that don't give him the options. Saka, when he's on the pitch, he literally does that very well. But on the other side, Trossard doesn't do it very well. And Gabriel Martinelli, with his pace, he's not done it this campaign. So I'm thinking, I don't think Odegaard really slows us down. I think our tactics slow us down in transitions. When Odegaard is on the ball, he's not the fastest player at Arsenal. We must have players sprinting ahead of him and giving him options. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Should we sell Martin Odegaard? In my opinion, to hell no with that. To hell with that. I don't want to hear anyone waking up in the morning thinking Odegaard is for sale. I think he's a very important player, part of this team, and I respect him and I love him too.